So here what we should identify first is that this number and this number are a little bit too big. As soon as it's above 90, you need to reduce. That's where the cast diagram from grade 11 comes in. And so if we had to use the cast diagram, the cos of 285 would end up equaling the cos of 75. Pause the video if you need to and make sure you get to the same answer there. And then the sin of 105, well, that would just become sin 75. So let's go fill everything in now and see where we are. So cos 75 times sin 75 plus sin 75 times sin 15. So things are a little bit weird here because here we've got a cos sin and then we've got a sin sin. So you don't get something like that on this diagram. And we've got something else that's a bit weird. We've got 75, 75, 75, and then there's this random 15. So we're going to have to make a couple of changes, and there's multiple ways you could change this. I'll show you all the different ways. But we need to make use of something called cofunctions, which is something you guys learned in grade 11. And these were the ones with 90 degrees. So remember that sin of 90 minus x, for example, is cos. Cos of 90 minus x is sin. Sin of 90 plus x is cos. And then cos of 90 plus x, remember that this one is negative. Okay, so you need to memorize those, or remember, at least just, I was about to say you need to remember them, but that's the same as memorizing. So you need to know those, all right? And let me show you what it actually means. So let's say, for example, you have cos of 20. Well, that's the same as sin 70. See, because these two angles add up to 90. If you have cos 10, that's always the same as the sin of 80. If you have the sin of 5, then that's the same as the cos of 85. If you have the cos of 12, then that will be the same as the sin of 78. If you have sin of 71, that would be the same as the cos of 19. As long as the angles are always adding up to 90 degrees. That is what cofunctions actually are. So there's multiple ways we could change this. I'm going to show you one way. One of the ways you could change this is the following. You could change this one over here to the cos of 15, because sin 75 is the same as cos 15 because of what I just showed you a few seconds ago. And then you don't want to change anything else. And now everything's okay because now we have a cos cos and a sin sin, and it's got a plus in the middle, so that looks like this one. So then what we can do is we can write it as cos, and then we take the first angle, which is 75, minus the second angle, which is 15, and that's going to give us cos 60. Now cos 60 is a special angle, and so if we had to use our special triangles, if you put 30 at the top, that's okay, you will still get the same answer as me. Some people prefer to put the 30 at the top, some put it at the bottom. What you must remember though is that the number 1 is always opposite the 30, the number 2 is always the hypotenuse, and the square root of 3 must always be opposite 60. If you did do it in a different way to me, maybe you put 60 at the bottom and 30 over there, then your one would be, that's what your triangle would look like. Okay, and you can use whichever one you like. So if we're to go work out cos 60, that's adjacent over hypotenuse, and so that should give you a half. I'm now going to show you the second way that you could have done this. Alright, in another technique, what we could have done is we could have changed this one over here. So this will be option number 2 for those of you who maybe wanted to do option number 2. So that would go cos 75 times by the sin of 75 plus sin 75 multiplied by the cos of 75. See what I did there? I switched this to cos 75. As long as it adds up to 90, then you can switch it like that. Now, what we have here is a cos sin plus a sin cos. Cos sin plus a sin cos. Now, some of you might be saying, wait up, we don't have anything that looks like that. We've got something that's close. But what's really nice is that when you multiply, the order doesn't really matter. For example, 3 times 2 is 6, and 2 times 3 is also 6. So the order doesn't matter. So if you want to, we can rewrite this so that it looks correct. So we can put the sin in the front. Oh, and then I see this one is switched around as well, so I'm going to switch these two around. The order does not matter at all. And there we go. So we definitely can all agree now that we've got this one over here. And so I'm going to rewrite it as sin. And then it says that we should add the angles together. So 75 plus 75, which is the sin of 150. Now 150 is larger than 90 degrees, so you would need to reduce it on the cast diagram. And what you would eventually find is that the sin of 150 is the same as sin 30. Then I would use my special triangles once again. And sin 30 is 1, or opposite, over hypotenuse, so that's 1 over 2. And that's the exact same answer we got if we used the previous option.